I'd like to welcome you to our NJPSA and FEA 30th anniversary celebration, and I'm very glad that you're going to be the keynote speaker at our luncheon today. It's very exciting too that we have a New Jersey person with us, and it's great that you're doing such innovative and creative things in terms of evaluation for teachers, as well as the preparation for school leaders. So would you talk a little bit about what you're doing, what the state of the practice is in New Jersey as well as in other states, and any comments you'd like to make to our members of NJPSA?
Okay, sure. And I guess I would only start by saying that if we accept, and we really have to accept, that the quality of teaching is the single most important contributor to student learning of the factors within a school. Now, out-of-school factors obviously play a big part as well, but of the things that happen in the school, the quality of teaching is the single most important one. And we can't even talk about that if we haven't defined it. And so my framework for teaching that was first published in 1996 and then has since then evolved with a second edition and other enhancements and so on. That's what it does, is define good teaching. And it seemed to really fill a hole in the education landscape that had been left vacant once we sort of moved on from Madeline Hunter. We learned from Madeline Hunter a long time ago that we need to define good teaching, but we do know more now about good teaching than we did in those days. And so it was time for an update. And that's what I wrote, not having a clue at the time that it would turn out to be an important development, because on the policy side, not just on the educator side, but on the policy side, legislators and state departments of education realized that it's not only important to define good teaching, we have to ensure it. We have to absolutely ensure it. Therefore, we have to be able to evaluate it and help people improve and all that. So, so my framework, it was just sitting there, and a lot of people had already picked it up and were starting to use it, and now it's actually been adopted as the official definition of teaching in quite a few places. So that's exciting for me, and it's exciting to be in the thick of it. In New Jersey, yes, and absolutely in other states as well, and some of the biggest states in the country, Illinois, Florida, New York, are California, well, LA, I should say, not all of California. But they are, and Chicago as a system, and New York City are all enormous places that have found this framework for teaching to be useful for structuring the conversation about practice and about structuring the improvement strategies for teachers. Because, and by the way, when I say, and I think other people, but when I say that one of the aims of any good evaluation system is to help teachers strengthen their practice, it's not because I think that teaching is of poor quality and has to be fixed. That's not it. It's that teaching is so hard that it's never perfect, which means that no matter how good a lesson is, it could always be a bit better. So what this framework does is offers people an architecture to have those conversations.
What about the preparation of the school leaders who will be doing the evaluations of teachers?
Yes, I mean, the answer is yes. That is a linchpin of a good system, is that the people who are doing the observations and having the conversations with teachers are actually skilled at observation and at determining what level of performance is represented by a teacher's practice in a lesson, say. And that's called training. And it absolutely must be done and done well. Otherwise, we don't have a good system. We don't have a strong system. And teachers don't respect it. And they shouldn't, actually. I mean, when I first got into education, teacher evaluation was kind of a joke. And it didn't amount to anything. Nobody really cared. It didn't have any consequences. And that has persisted in some places up until pretty recently. But that's where the policy people and the policy landscape has changed. And they've said, that's not good enough. This is the one system we have in schools to ensure quality. Let's make it work for that. And so it now matters more than it ever has, which does mean then that it's more important than it ever has been for anybody who's doing the evaluations, normally principals and APs, but sometimes department chairs, sometimes teacher coaches. It depends on who it is, but whoever is doing that has to be able to do it well, and they need to be trained, and I think they need to demonstrate that they can do it well.
What do you think about the evaluation of the school leaders?
I am not an expert in that field. I do think that it's an important one, obviously, and some people have taken my framework for teaching and have sort of done a version of it for school leaders, and some applications are obvious. That is, in my framework, one of the domains has to do with the classroom environment. Well, a school leader has obviously a school environment, and so many of the same principles would apply, but there are some important differences too. And so it seems to me that in order to do evaluation of school leaders, a lot of the same things apply. You have to be really clear about what the job is and what would count as evidence of it being done well. But for teachers, the quintessential work of teaching is teaching. It's teaching a lot. You can go watch that. There's no equivalent of that for principals. And it's much more diffused. So it's a more challenging assessment problem. But one essential skill of an administrator and a school leader is to be able to supervise and coach staff. That we do know how to do. The rest of the job, the budgeting, the building management, the culture issues, the working with the community and parents, that's outside my scope of expertise. But there's plenty of people who know how to do that. I hope. I'm sure there must be.
Do you have any final thoughts for us today?
Keep going. New Jersey's on a good path, and I was delighted that the department issued the RFP for doing some pilot work in teacher evaluation, and I've been involved in a number of those efforts, and I'm sure that they and the state as a whole will learn from those experiences and be stronger for it. And I don't know what's planned for a larger scale statewide rollout of anything. I don't know if they know. But I think this first year is a learning year, and I, for one, welcome it.
Great. Well, I thank you very much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us today.
Thanks.